whether or not we would even get the smaller amounts, okay, or the other projects, because there are so many projects, all right? The feedback on the batch has been good. It seems to me that that's where we get the most bang for the bucks. I know we have other, you know, we definitely have other concerns, but those can be able to be addressed the other day, in another day. If you don't take them in order, if we decide to go the other way, I think the batch thing is dead, okay? And that's a huge amount we could get off the tax rolls. And I think that, you know, part of this too, I see, all right, as a way that we're trying to give back to the community, to give the community better confidence in us when we're ready to go back and ask them for the next step, whatever that next step is be. So we're talking about more projects need to be improved. I think getting the batch money back, okay, is a real comment to the community to believe in the schools, believe in the town work. So I tend to agree with Bob. I really think that we're best served by going after that batch, because if we don't, it's gone. I don't think we can realistically ever expect to get another shot at getting that money if we don't go now.
We'll go back on the other.
All right. This is my thinking. Assuming we even could get reimbursement for the batch, because it is a finished project and it's not one that we applied for. It's a matter of simple math to me. I would rather get 30% of 90 million than 100% of 16 million, for one thing. For the second thing, if we did go after the batch and got that money, we still have immediate physical plant needs in the middle school and the high school. And, you know, it's going to, for an override for any of those things is just as much of a gamble as going for the large capital project for the schools. You know, as far as getting the bachelor funded, increasing our political capital, I'm not sure that's true. You know, honestly, after going through April and the special election to try to get the operational override, I think we made a tremendous case for it, and the town still didn't go for it. You know, I would rather gamble on trying to get something really special and well done from the start for this town than to try to get reimbursed for little and beg for scraps to get the other two schools in line.
Steve? Echo a little bit of what Nicole just said here. I understand what the chairman and Mr. Nadino are saying in relation to the back of the school, and it is a good sell, and it's an easy sell to MSBA, whatever they call it. But I have to go back to almost the political realities of the situation. They've got $500 million, 500 projects, and 460 or 480 legislators to try and satisfy all at the same time in the districts across the Commonwealth. To me, a project like the Bachelor of the School, and you mentioned Bedford, and there's a handful, there aren't a lot of them, where communities stepped up to the plate, knowing full well that there was a good chance of no reimbursement, because there was a substantiated need in the community that had to be met. And North Reading was one of those communities that we can't wait for the economy to change. We can't wait for the Commonwealth to step up and do what their responsibility is, which is to assist the cities and towns in order to grant some property tax relief. You know, we have to go and take it upon ourselves to do it, and we did it. And that's to our credit. And I think the legislature needs to address those specific projects, probably in a separate piece of legislation, and say, you know what, fine. You know, you stepped up to the plate. The level of reimbursement may not be as great as it normally would be, but you know, is a token of our appreciation in granting some tax relief to the property taxpayers in the town of North Reading and other communities, like communities that actually did step up to the plate in that moratorium period of 4 or 5 years. That being said, our priorities haven't changed from everything we've heard over the last few years in relation to our secondary schools. I mean, we've got at a middle school in Oakmont in 1964, we haven't done anything but a roof and a boiler, pretty much, in the building. It served us well, but it's outserved its usefulness. And getting back to the political realities of the situation in relation to the size and magnitude of the projects and the available funds, what may be the most economic solution to our problem, which may be a joint middle high school, may not fit into their funding plans in relation to their available funds that they need to spread across the Commonwealth. So, as the superintendent pointed out, Dr. Trotter pointed out, they, and I think rightfully so, because they learn by their mistakes. You know, they allow the cities and towns to get the projects approved, get the plans, get the engineering plans, bring it in, and then approve the projects that included the swimming pools, the field houses, and all the rest. They finally got smart about it and said, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to be involved in the infancy stages in relation to, you can identify the problems, we'll agree with those, but we're going to be part of the solution as to what's going to happen. In doing so, they may tell us, attack the middle school first, the high school second, even though the economy of scales would tell you it makes more sense to do both. I think it's important that we follow their rules, we get involved from the ground floor as we have been, and I know the superintendent and the administration have been involved at the very early stages here with lots of conversation, and talking about the bachelor school, but also meets the secondary school. I think our prioritization has to stay at the secondary school level. That's what we need to present as far as a statement of interest, and tackle the bachelor school issue separately, and it should be addressed appropriately by the legislature, and handling communities such as ourselves that did step up to the plate and took care of our needs without the guarantee of any funding. So, I think prioritization should still remain at the secondary school level. The only other thing that I've heard, which is of concern to me, is that Catherine Craven may be getting another job in the administration outside of the school building assistance department. So she may be leaving.
So who's moving in?
I don't know who's moving in, but she would be a huge loss because she's the glue.
I believe a member of the finance committee back here.
Yeah, I was going to Dr. Trojan, I have a question concerning the prioritization of these projects. In other words, if you indicate the batch as your first priority, does that necessarily negate the possibilities of the middle school or the high school? In other words, when you submit this letter to Catherine Craven suggesting that the batch is your first priority, does the state have the right to say, well, we just really don't want to handle that this way, but we would like to talk to you about the middle school, for example? Is that a possible outcome? Is that the way it's set up, or is it?
You know, that's a very good question. Abby, when I read this letter, and I give you a copy of it, I think there are several interpretations of that letter, and that's why I think we need to be very careful on how we word the letter to MSBA. I think if we selected the Bachelor of School as the #1 priority, it would not take the other projects, the other two, statement of interest, off the table forever. But it's very likely to push it out beyond the 5-year cycle that MSBA has committed funding to. And they're certainly not going to give focused attention to our secondary needs. The process, as I understand it, is that now the door has closed on all statement of interest. The next step is to have this assessment team come out and dig into the statement of interest to verify it. They've already done that for us. We were in a preliminary pilot group. They're going to do that, I believe, in order of priorities identified in this letter. And they're going to try to reach some level of understanding by December, by the end of this year. So that's what I believe Captain Craven is asking communities to do, is to pick one project and have that project be the one that gets the first level of attention. Well, we've already had our assessment done on our middle school and high school.
My understanding was that the SBA did come out, in fact, and looked at the batch school at some point, and that they ranked it as a
It's
number.
different. They did that, Abby, for all communities. They did,
Right, when they did the state law visits to every single school in the law,
Rank is a four.
they ranked the schools as a condition a few years ago, and the batch ranked as a 4.
Correct.
So they do have that on record.
they have that on record. That is, actually, you can go to the website and see that. That was a facility assessment. What happened in North Reading 3 weeks ago was an evaluation against the statement of interest. Very different level. The next step, if we're selected, would be even a more focused review where they would begin to talk about ultimate possible solutions.
David, my understanding of the process, correct me if it's changed or I've misunderstood, was that you had up to a period of time to file your statements of interest. The state has closed that. They've got more than they can possibly handle. They've asked us to prioritize. I thought then that the following year, you can go through and submit statements of interest all over again, and so on and so forth, once a year. In other words, what didn't get approved in year 1 is off the table, thrown away, and you've got to make a new case the next year. So that in this process, we don't lose anything except for maybe timing, right? In terms of, there's no rule against resubmitting next year our priorities or our statements of interest. I mean, that's my understanding of how the process was going to work.
I would agree with you, Bob, up to the point of, I have not seen in writing what the second year looks like, because MSBA has not even completed the path to the final determination for year 1. And this letter of July 16 indicates that, at least to me, and I know some of my other superintendent colleagues, that MSBA is overwhelmed with the number of statement of interest and is trying to determine how do you sift through all of those to prioritize it. And so they're throwing that back to communities to say, tell us which one you want us to focus on. I found it interesting when the assessment team came out. We were selected as a pilot. Not all school districts have undergone this. We were selected as a pilot. The middle school and high school underwent a Core 1 evaluation. It was a much more detailed assessment. I asked specifically about the bachelor in school because we had submitted a statement of interest. And I was told that the bachelor school would be treated as a Core 2. It's in a different situation. It's a project that's completed. The evaluation team could not go and look at the statement of interest and compare it to the product at hand because it's a renovated building.
Well, I think the letter and that was received has raised some questions, plus some of the communications that you've had associated with the assessment team. Would it behoove us to contact Representative Jones to see if we could have a meeting before the deadline of the 15th and get these questions answered?
A meeting with Pratt and Craven.
Right.
Push. I've been in conversation with Representative Jones, and he also has spoken with Catherine Craven on a number of occasions. We can certainly call again, see if we can get further guidance.
Well, I do recall a communication from him saying he definitely wanted to weigh in on this decision. So, we got until the 15th, and it would seem to me that it might be worthwhile having that communication to make sure that we're not making, if we're going to lean on going with a bachelor school, and if there is a way, as Steve suggested, that it could be pushed into another category, we may have an opportunity to get reimbursement for that and also stay in the queue for middle and high school.
Again, that's what I'm proposing here, that because of all of the preliminary work on the batch